Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for your attention. We're gonna start. So, dear participant to the EURAF Conference 2026, Monsieur le Conseiller d'État, Madame la Conseillère communale, Madame la Rectrice, dear agroforesters, dear researchers, dear practitioners, dear all, it's our great pleasure to welcome you to this 8th EURAF Conference in Neuchâtel. I am Jérémy Fornet, one of the organizers. I'm professor here at the university and head of a research center on agroecology, which includes also a little bit of agroforestry. Neuchâtel is rooted in a region where agroforestry has a long history. You might have been told this story a couple of times already. Most specifically, silvopastoralism and wooded pastures. We are a small university here in Neuchâtel. You might have discovered that. It's also quite a small city. But we made our best to prepare a great week for you all with the help of many colleagues in the whole country, notably partners from Agroscope, Swiss Agroforestry and Agridea. So thank you to all the people who committed themselves to the organization of this conference already. And we can say that through Neuchâtel, it's also the whole Swiss community of agroforestry who is welcoming you today for this conference. So we hope you will enjoy all of your stays, and I pass the word to Felix for his own introduction.
Thank you, Jeremy. Hello from my side. My name is Felix Herzog from Agroforestry Switzerland. I'm very happy to see you here. We have a trade-off about the fan. So you can vote if you want the noise of the fan or the cooling. For the time being, we will leave it running, but if you don't hear us, you have to tell us that. The slogan of the conference is Agroforestry at the Heart of Europe. Now Jakub tells me it's the Czech Republic which is at the heart of Europe. We can argue about that. I'm not picky, I don't mind. The slogan is also about agroforestry being at our heart, and I have seen it becoming at the heart of more and more people, farmers, administrators, and scientists. And I hope that in this conference we can feel that and reflect on that. So, there are some remarks to be made about safety regulations. You may remember that we had this terrible fire accident in Crans-Montana at the end of last year, and since then, the university, many other public buildings revised their fire regulations. And this is the case also here. So this is why we show this plan with the emergency exits, so you can leave the building the way you came in, and also behind the stage. Then we want to thank our sponsors. We got generous funding. You could taste it. Those who attended the icebreaker yesterday evening, you could taste the AOP food. There will be lots of more wine in particular, because we're in a wine-producing region which is donated by the cantons, and we got some funding from all those organizations which you can see here.
Okay, and here's our morning program. So, as you can see on the screen, we'll have a few welcome addresses by local authorities, but also by the EURAF people. Then we'll have a first keynote by Claudia Comte, who is an artist working with trees and landscapes also. So we're really looking forward to hear about her work. And to finish the morning, we'll have a round table, a panel discussion that will be chaired by our colleague Sonia Kai. You have the participants on the screen. We will introduce them later on. So now it's the time for the addresses, public addresses. So please, I invite Denise Giger-Gaspo, our Vice Chancellor of the University of Neuchâtel, to say a few words of welcoming on the side.
Thank you. Mr. State Councillor of the Canton of Neuchâtel, Madam City Councillor, Mr. President of EURAF, organizers, ladies and gentlemen, dear participants. It has been 6 months since I became rector of the University of Neuchâtel. And this is the first time I stand in front of so many researchers gathered in one place, in a hot place. So, let me start with what matters the most. Welcome to our university. I have to admit that when I took office, I expected many things, but not necessarily to open an international agroforestry conference. If you asked people in the street what characterizes our university, they would probably mention the diversity of our programs and research. They may talk about our strong focus on humanities, perhaps also the fact that we are one of the smallest universities in Switzerland. But it is rather unlikely that anyone would mention trees. And yet, this is exactly where things are happening. Although we are not an agricultural or forestry school, the University of Neuchâtel brings together expertise that connects directly with our fields: environmental anthropology, biology, soil science. It is this ability to make disciplines talk to each other that has enabled our colleagues to engage in projects such as agroforestries, a project carried out with more than 100 farms in French-speaking Switzerland, which is testing in very concrete ways the reintroduction of trees into agricultural systems with multidisciplinary scientific monitoring. You yourselves come from very diverse backgrounds: agronomy, biology, social sciences, field practice, and from far beyond Europe. This is exactly the type of dialogue that our university aims to foster and to keep alive. I would like to thank the CEDD Agro-Eco-Climate team, and in particular Jeremy Forney, for encouraging here research whose effects can be seen both in the field and in scientific journals. The knowledge you will produce and share here goes far beyond the academic world. It will feed into concrete farming practices, public policies, and quite directly the landscapes we live in. Let me finish with a more practical note. During the conference, you may hear some noise from the construction site next door. The canton of Neuchâtel is currently constructing a new building for our university. We are very pleased about this, as it will offer modern infrastructures and new opportunities for research, teaching, and exchanges. And as a small note to your topic, this building will make extensive use of wood with a scheme designed to promote local timber. And since we are speaking about trees, let me share one last coincidence. The University of Neuchâtel actually owns its own forest. Very few people know this, but now you do. I wish you an excellent conference.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor, for these very interesting and kind words. So now, please, I ask you to welcome Johanna Lottfischer from the municipality of the city of Neuchâtel for another few words.
Okay. Mr. State Councillor, Madam Rectress of the University of Neuchâtel, Mr. President of EURAF, ladies and gentlemen, participants in the European Agroforestry Conference 2026. It is a great pleasure to welcome you in the name of the City Council here in Neuchâtel. I hope that the environment of our millennial town, situated between lake and forest, It'll be suitable for your scientific as well as your informal exchanges. When I was asked to give you a short speech at the opening of the conference, I asked myself what I could say about agroforestry in our city. I could tell you a lot about forestry in my area of responsibility and the silvicultural method using the planter system applied to our 2,300 hectares of forest, more than half of the municipal area. But that is not what you want to know. I then remembered the plantation in 2015 of fruit and walnut trees on a field that belongs to a food company I worked for, a measure for improving their sustainability score. The site is not very far from here, but not on the territory of our city. A visit this weekend showed that only part of the trees had grown well, maybe not the best example of agroforestry. Luckily, I recalled that at Chaumont, the hill behind the town, you find traditional wooded pastures. A typical feature of the Jura landscape, they are the result of traditional farming practices allowing both livestock grazing and timber production. Combining trees and open habitats, wooded pastures are very important for biodiversity. Just as I reached this point of my research, I got in my mail the latest number of À la Une, the publication of the university destined to bridge the gap between the public and the scientific knowledge of the alma mater. Theme, agroforestry. And shortly after, the publicity for a temporary exhibition at the Botanical Garden. Theme, agroforestry. It seems that your venue is the occasion to inform the university community as well as the general public about this important land management system, combining agriculture and forestry practices in order to create diverse, productive, and sustainable ecosystems. So instead of me trying to tell you about agroforestry in our town, I will study what you have to teach us about it. I wish you thus a very productive conference, and if you get too hot from fiery debates or just because of the hot weather, you can just go outside and jump into the lake. The large area on the lakeside is undergoing its final transformation from a parking lot to a public park of 70,000 square meters. If you prefer a cool drink, I can recommend a glass of our famous Eau de Perdrix wine, which the city offers. If you opt for both, please drink after your bath in the lake. Word of advice from the responsible of security and lake rescue. Have a successful conference.
Thank you very much. And now I invite Laurent Favre, regional councillor, cantonal councillor here in Canton Neuchâtel, in charge of the economy, which includes agriculture. If I'm not wrong, you're agronomist by training, so he knows a little bit about what he speaks. Today, he's been also involved in the regional farmers union direction before engaging in this political career. So thank you for your words in advance, and the floor is yours.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président de l'EURAF 2026, Madame la conseillère communale, Madame la rectrice de l'Université de Neuchâtel, Mesdames et Messieurs les chercheurs et les conseillers, Mesdames et Messieurs. And now in English. Since 10 years, I didn't pronounce a speech in English. Thank you for your support and understanding. It is with a great pleasure that I welcome you on behalf of the Neuchâtel State Council to the European Agroforestry Congress here at the University of Neuchâtel. As an agronomist myself, it is a privilege for me to welcome agricultural researchers and advisors from across Europe, all gathered here to discuss a production system of growing in importance for agriculture in the light of the worrying impact of climate change. In the canton of Neuchâtel, around 80% of our agricultural land is situated in the mountainous or hilly areas. Farmland and summer pasture, c'est le mot difficile pour moi aujourd'hui, cover some 35,000 hectares. Thus, both in the canton and in Switzerland as a whole, arable crops are grown at altitudes of between 400 and 800 meters. In Neuchâtel, these crops cover around 5,000 hectares or 15% of our agricultural land. They make the most of the 7,000 hectares called surface d'assolement, our best land, which Swiss legislation protects through strict quotas. The Jura Mountains, where the canton of Neuchâtel is situated, are characterized by low mountain terrain, sloping land, and a harsh winter climate. Agriculture in these areas is dominated by grassland and cattle farming, with significant milk production, much of which is processed into cheese, notably the Gruyère AOP, designed best cheese in the world in 2026. Excuse my lack of modesty. In the hills of the Jura Arc, we find a form of agroforestry that is symbolic for the region, an age-old practice of silvopastoralism. These are wooded pastures, les pâturages boisés, cover more than 3,000 hectares or 10% of our agricultural area. Many of you are already familiar with this landscape or will have the chance to discover it tomorrow during the excursions. It is an environment where trees, either standing alone or in small groups, are scattered amongst meadows grassed by livestock during the warmer months. This landscape is the result of several centuries of interaction between livestock farming and the forest, specifically between timber harvesting and the grazing of grassy areas. From an agronomic perspective, these areas constitute an important source of fodder for cattle farming. But the trees also provide protection from the elements, offering shade for the animals in summer and shelter from the wind. These systems enable the use of land that is often unsuitable for arable farming and is ideally suited to rearing young cattle, the extensive fattening of beef cattle, as well as dairy production for cheese. Furthermore, wooded pastures are regarded as habitats of very high ecological value. They are home to a high level of plants and animal biodiversity. In particular, they provide an habitat for numerous species of birds, bats, insects, and lichens, not to mention larger wildlife. Indeed, the simultaneous presence of open, semi-open, and wooded areas creates a valuable mosaic of habitats. Finally, it is also a question of recognizing the role of wooded pasture in carbon sequestration through the growth of trees and their use as renewable energy. In terms of landscape and culture, wooded pastures are an iconic feature of the Swiss Jura. They encourage low-impact tourism, such as hiking, cross-country skiing, and mountain bikes. Our dairy and livestock production is therefore based on mountain pasture farming, with a limited inputs of chemicals such as fertilizers and pesticides. It meets the Confederation's agricultural objectives in terms of multifunctionality, sustainability, and food sovereignty. Today, beyond market challenge, the main challenge facing mountain farming in the Jura arc is the arrival of the wolf, a large predator. When the Berne Convention was signed several decades ago, scientists did not foresee the significant predation by wolf packs on cattle, particularly on wooded pastures. This significant issue must not be underestimated by the research community, at the risk of putting cattle farming in mountain areas in danger. Before concluding, I would like to mention particularly the Intercontinental Agroforestry project. Neuchâtel is contributing 10% of the project's costs. The aim of the project is to evaluate and promote the practice of modern agroforestry and to support its adoption through a participatory approach. In practical terms, by implementing various agroforestry measures, the project offers personalized advice and financial support for the establishment or optimization of an agroforestry system. The project has been running in the cantons of Geneva, Jura, Bernese Jura, Neuchâtel, and Vaud for a period of 6 years. We will therefore complete it in 2026. In Neuchâtel, 12 plots across around 10 farms, featuring various agroforestry systems, have been included in the project and are being scientifically monitored until this year, notably by the University of Neuchâtel, Agroscope, the ETH Zurich, and the FIBEL. I strongly recommend that you take part in excursion number 3 tomorrow, which is dedicated to this project. And to end on a lighter note, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that our region is also covered by 600 hectares of a special type of agroforestry, the vineyard. Renowned for its excellent wines made from the Pinot Noir, for example. Also, vitiforestry is not yet particularly well suited to our condition. Organic viticulture, on the other hand, accounts for almost 3/4 of our vineyard land. So, during this conference, why not treat yourself to a glass of the iconic Œil de Perdrix Rosé, which will probably be served during the aperitif. I wish you a conference rich in discussion and new insights, and I hope that the field trips this week will make you want to return to Neuchâtel with your friends and family. Very warm welcome to you. Thank you very much.
Shall we keep the fan on? Still? Yes? Okay. Then it's my pleasure to introduce Bohdan for his words of welcome. He's a professor at the Czech University of Life Science, and he's the president of EURAF. So he is the host of this conference.
Thank you very much, Felix. Thank you very much for inviting me. The Rector of the University, the State Chancellor, the City Chancellor, the honorable guest, ladies and gentlemen, dear agroforesters, dear friends. On behalf of European Agroforestry Federation, it's my honor to welcome you here on the 8th European Agroforestry Conference. After Brussels, Cottbus, Montpellier, Nijmegen, Noro, and Brno, here we are in Neuchâtel. Conference in the heart of Europe. Of course, we can discuss later where is the heart of Europe. For me, Czechia, it's also heart of Europe. However, I think now agroforestry is in our heart. I would like to thank the organizers for all the preparation. It's really amazing. When I come yesterday to Neuchâtel, it looks really beautiful. All the preparation went well. And it's just amazing. I'm always glad to see many of well-known faces, my old friends, but what is more encouraging that I see lots of new faces, and especially young faces. So it's a sign that the agroforestry family is growing. I would like also to thank the Swiss hospitality that we experienced already last evening during the ice-breaking event. There was a great wine, there was a great cheese. Then with many of you, we jumped to the lake, which was great. And I also thank you for ordering such a nice sunny weather. Now we should appreciate that our conference is about the trees, that they are the best and the cheapest way of air conditioning. Probably if there would be a big tree, we would not need this air conditioning. And I'm looking forward tomorrow for a number of excursions. As you mentioned, around the Neuchâtel, there is lots of trees, there is lots of agroforestry that we experience, and I think the trees will be really a key for our survival during those excursions. I think that more and more people are realizing how important and how much needed are the trees in our agricultural landscape. From the front lines of the Ukraine, where thanks to the tree lines, the people were able to stop the Russian tanks, to the Hesse and Montado of Spain and Portugal, where the trees can keep the landscape alive. The trees in Southern Europe, in Greece and Italy, can help to prevent fire, provide shelter and feeds for the animals. And the trees in Northern Europe, in Finland, Sweden, can help the animals to support the frost weather. All across Europe, the trees, they are able to prevent and stop wind erosion, as in the big plains of northern Germany, and water erosion in Czechia and all hilly landscapes. We now realize how important the trees are for protecting and supporting European biodiversity. And currently, they are able to tackle all the problems connected with climate change. And besides all those ecosystem services, as we call them, they provide us with a number of products that we have on the table every day and that we use daily in our daily life. Moreover, they are beautiful. Most of the farmers, actually, the main reason why they are establishing agroforestry is that they like it, that they claim that the trees are beautiful, and they really are. So here in Neuchâtel during this week, we will hear a variety of presentation in about 25 scientific sessions, about 10 workshops, and a number of keynote speeches. The organizer prepared around 200 oral presentations and about half of that of posters. We will see the latest research in agroforestry, and you can also speak with a number of agroforestry farmers during the conference. We will hear where are the promises and what are the barriers of implementing trees into the agricultural landscape. For this week, Neuchâtel becomes a heart of European agroforestry. So enjoy this occasion to be part of our EURAF family. Talk, watch, network, think, feel, taste, smell. Just simply enjoy the conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bodan, for this warm welcome. Now we can play you a video welcome address by the...
Welcome to Neuchâtel.
Sorry. It's too fast. So this will be Guy Parmelin. He's the conseiller fédéral. He's the president of Switzerland. And it's amazing that he took the time to record this video in the political circumstances that you all know about, from tax negotiations to welcoming states of head of the G7 in Geneva, who go to France, to all the other issues he has to deal with. He still recorded this video for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Neuchâtel for this agroforestry conference at the heart of Europe. In combining trees, crops and livestock, agroforestry offers practical solutions to the economic and social challenges facing agriculture and food systems in Europe, but also globally. Against a backdrop of climate change, it is essential that we adapt our practices and rethink certain approaches. In this context, it is sometimes useful to look to the past and draw on tradition as a source of innovation. In Switzerland, and certainly in the Neuchâtel region, agroforestry is not a new concept. It has long been part of our farming practices. Today, you find yourselves in the heart of typical landscapes such as wooded pastures, which have been profoundly shaped by agroforestry for centuries. Your conference can serve to strengthen the link between tradition and innovation. This 8th European Agroforestry Conference provides an opportunity to gather views on agroforestry from research, the field and public policy, and to share knowledge and experiences across Europe. By pooling scientific expertise and practical know-how, you are promoting efforts to integrate trees into agricultural systems and so support a sustainable agroecological transition. However, finding agronomic solutions is not enough to ensure success. If we are to support this transition, we also need to develop viable business models, work closely with farmers, and adapt the legal framework. I am sure that if people from across the board work together, we will be able to find practical, innovative solutions that take local realities and traditions into account. I would like to close by thanking the University of Neuchâtel, Agroscope and Agroforestry Suisse for organizing this event. I hope you have many fruitful and insightful discussions.
So thank you to all our speakers. We are at the end of this official part now, and soon I will pass pass the word to Felix to introduce our next activity conference. But I really want to thank the state councillor, city councillor, vice chancellor or rector, I don't know how we say that in English properly actually, for their kind words. I don't know if you want to stay with us, you're welcome, of course, but we can understand if you have a busy day because we know that you have many duties in your life. So thank you for being here, for taking this time, and yeah, have a good day.